Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel here at commaik. My new pool can finally be built. The base plate is finished and the materials have been delivered. Today I'm going to start building up my concrete blocks and I'll take you along with me. I'll show you how I go about it, how I install the reinforcement and how I connect the blocks together. If you want to know how I go about it, then stay tuned because we're about to get started. In the last video, I already showed you how I planned my pool on the computer. I've already laid out the retaining walls the way I want to build them using the blocks I still had. Now the truck has arrived and delivered the load. I will build this row of stones up to the same height as the side retaining walls, because I will continue to use these side retaining walls. On the east side, my staircase will be built. You can already see a small part of it here. To the right of it, I will place a platform in the water. That way, you can cool off nicely without sitting in the water up to your neck. Here on the south side, I will also build up the small wall. I will place a second wall in front of it so I can work in a straight line. The new skimmer will be built in here. I will install the jets on the west side. Here, I already have the inlets from my steel wall pool running in the wall behind. I will extend these inlets and connect them to the jets. I will break through the wall with a wall duct. This way I can later replace or reconnect the jets if necessary. I knocked off the curve with my small pneumatic hammer. The hollow blocks are supposed to connect in this area. I will drill holes into the wall and reinforce them with rebar. Afterwards, the hollow block will be filled with concrete. To firmly anchor the hollow blocks to the ground, I will place at least one reinforcing bar in each hollow block, which I will anchor into the ground. This concrete floor is over 30 centimeters thick. That should definitely hold. At the back, I will install a cross wall to the retaining wall. Structurally, I don't think it's necessary, but I'm playing it safe. Since the last recording, I had to pause construction for a week. Because as you can see, winter has returned, and that in the middle of April. I've only managed to bring some of the hollow blocks into the construction pit so far. Since the weather isn't expected to improve anytime soon, I'll have to bite the bullet and build the wall in these conditions. Because the concrete pump will be coming soon and is supposed to fill the blocks as well. So today, I'll be building up this wall on the west side, inserting the mesh, the reinforcement steel, and taking you along for the process. I've laid the first row of blocks. As you can see, I used a straight edge for this and aligned everything in a straight line. It turned out that I won't be able to get a right angle on both sides. Because the walls don't really fit into a right angle, I've now aligned everything so that I'll end up with about 87 or 88 degrees somewhere. That's perfectly sufficient for my purposes. Now this last block here, I'll have to cut it to size. I've already placed the block here and now I'm going to measure the distance from the block that's already in the row to the wall. I'll transfer that measurement onto this block, use my large angle grinder to cut it to size and then fit it in there. After that, I'll also build the bottom row of the bracing row. That means I've already aligned this block using my straight edge, and then I'll also cut the block at the back to fit the length as needed. And then the first row is done. Once that's in place, the worst and most difficult part is over. cut and align the first row of blocks, everything is level as well, so I don't need to make any adjustments. However, I need to connect the blocks to the base. Concrete alone won't do that. It won't bond anymore. That's why I'm going to insert rebar through the blocks into the foundation slab. For this purpose, I included rebar in my order. These are 6-meter pieces. I'm now going to cut them into 1-meter pieces and anchor one into the ground for each block. For this, I'll use a drill to bore about 20 centimeters deep into the foundation slab and insert the rods. Afterwards, I'll also install crossbars made of rebar, which I'll connect to the side walls. I'll then twist the horizontal and vertical rods together. That should provide enough strength to withstand the water pressure of the pool. I've installed the reinforcement in the first row. As you can see, on the one hand, there are the vertical rods, which are embedded about 10 to 20 centimeters deep in the foundation. And on the other hand, the horizontal reinforcement bar, which has also been inserted about 10 to 15 centimeters into the existing wall on both sides. To further stiffen and reinforce the whole thing, I'll wrap some tie wire around it here. You can either do this by hand, or you can do it like I do. I bought a starter set here. These are small wires that are wrapped around the connection. And with this twister, you hook them in, pull them tight, and the whole thing twists together. The result then looks like this here, or like this. I find this method much easier, and as you can see here, it really holds very well. By the way, as always, I'll link all the components, materials, and tools I use below the video, so you can easily reorder them and also support my channel a little in the process. Thank you very much for that. Now that I've installed, reinforced, and aligned the first row, I'd really like to go ahead and pour a starter layer of concrete, simply to further stabilize everything here so that no pressure from the side or accidentally bumping into it can cause anything to shift. However, snow and frost are forecast for the next few days. For this reason, I will refrain from pouring concrete and wait until the weather improves. But I will still install the second row of blocks. For this, I will split the first block in the middle so that the holes are still aligned on top of each other, and start with a half block, then continue with a whole one, simply to create an offset here. In the second row, another horizontal reinforcement bar will be carefully installed and securely connected to the vertical bars. first 4 rows of the western wall have been set, and as you can see, April is living up to its reputation. In addition to snow, now there's also hail, so I have to stop at this point. I'll show you the installation of the last 2 rows, including the inlet nozzles that are supposed to go into this wall, in the next video. Because for today, it doesn't make sense to continue, and I'm done. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the new video. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video, and take a look at the description below this video. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Ciao.